So my name is Uta Arnold, and I'm a body psychotherapist. I'm also an artist. I think creativity is really important, and that doesn't mean you have to be an artist, but you can become the most creative thinker in the world if you allow yourself. So as a body psychotherapist, I've also trained in the Alexander technique, which is an energy system, and Gestalt therapy, which I'm using as a body dialogue system. And this is all to engage and to integrate body, mind, emotions, spirit, creativity, and the healing forces of nature. So I often work with people who have traumatic and abusive history. So of course I've asked myself, how can we work with that as healing as an opportunity, rather the illness as an opportunity to get well. And so I'm going to start at the very beginning. So imagine with me, so before you travel onto this planet, you are somewhere sitting or lying or flying or whatever in space or in a realm of light, I imagine. And from there you say, okay, it's time to go back to Earth. And the first thing I have to do is find some loving or challenging parents in order to create something in this world that's worth doing there, where I can learn, because apparently this realm that we are all living in on the physical plane is a learning opportunity. It's a schoolroom. And so your parents, your biological parents, will agree, I imagine, and you come in through the birth channel, which is, well, first of all, you're in the womb. And in the second months in the womb, you're already developing your brain. And then your senses, of course, are starting to wake up and are receiving information from mom. And if mom is very happy with expecting this baby, then you're starting to create a loving, or together you're creating a loving receptivity, an environment in which you feel welcomed. And even at the act of procreation, when the seed is planted in the womb, there is a certain kind of experience that creates an imprint in the cellular memory of the child. So I'm going to give you an example. I was born Second World War. In the middle of the war, my parents were divorcing. They had had 4 children and everything was in chaos. And so there was no welcome. So here I have carried with me, I have realized over the years of studying body psychotherapy that there was neglect and abuse on the level of neglect, because there was no one there present for me. And so therefore I experienced abandonment. Now let's go back to the birth channel. So this child gets squeezed, and it's incredible pressure on the biggest organ of the body, which is the skin. Huge pressure to come through this birth channel to see if there is a world waiting for us. And if the world is waiting for us with the hands of a caring and kind and loving pediatrician, then that is the first language that we experience, the language of touch. And if the language was neglectful, touch language, and harsh lights and lots of activities and lots of trauma, then right from the beginning, we're starting to program something in our cellular memory that feels unwelcoming, and it feels unkind, and it feels traumatic. Now, Lindsay told us briefly about her story of what she experienced in being an early child, preemie. And can you only imagine, you know, the child really needs that contact with mom after it comes out of the body, out of the vagina, and it needs to the rhythm of the child and the mom need to entrain with each other so that there is contact and an experience of love that the child can experience right from the start. And if dad hopefully was in the birthing room, then he takes the child and he creates the connection to nature. So we have the connection to the heart, and we have the connection to nature at the start. So if the trauma of birth is an issue, then you may need to go back and reprogram that into a welcoming second chance dad, second chance mom, a welcoming experience, and a loving pediatrician, etc., etc. So right from the start, as you travel back and you're allowing your pain body to tell you what it has experienced, then there is a way to interfere with the redundant messages from the past, and you can start to look at something that's possible, absolutely possible. Okay, let's fast forward to the second year, which is also correlates in my experience to the second chakra. So at 2 years old, my cat just walked in the room. He's a nerd today. Anyway, at 2 years old, we are experiencing for the first time that we have an identity, and that we have a will, and that we have a little ego that learns how to say yes or no. And if the no was respected and the yes was appreciated, then we can build a healthy ego, because the ego often gets a bad rap. But we need to learn to love our ego. If we don't want it, then we have to learn to love it away. But we can't scold it, because scolding was right there from the very start, and we don't want to repeat that on ourselves. So if the no was not accepted, and mom says, don't do that, and she calls us as a member of the terrible twos a nuisance and in the way and not getting it, then mom says, do it my way, do it this way. I have a better way of doing it. And you can imagine a small child, 2 years old, is endlessly creatively involved, trying the best he or she can to figure out, what is this world all about? How can I live here? What is hard? What is cold? What is this voice saying to me? What is the emotional content that's behind mom's voice? She's looking severe and angry. And of course, as a child, we cannot figure this out. We have to use our senses, because we don't have an intellect and saying, mom is full of something, or dad shouldn't have said that. We don't have that kind of filtering system yet. We don't have a brain that's engaged in sorting out what's good or what's bad for us. So we are like a sponge, and we have to ingest everything, and we have to learn how to protect ourselves. So right from the very start, we create a self-survival mechanism that helps us to get through. So that's been very interesting for me to wonder about and to listen to people. What was their survival mechanism that helped them to survive, particularly when the trauma was severe, when it was physical or sexual or mentally, emotionally abusive? How do they get through? So being incredibly creative, children find a way to get through. They're very resilient. So many of them check out. They leave their body and they go into fantasy land, and they create stories of how they can live. And if they were very lucky, as I was, I could go into nature. I could be with the animals. We had a lot of animals growing up. And so that was a great resource of support and contact and loving connection. So if you don't have that, if you don't have nature, then what do? Maybe you hide under the table. Maybe you hide under the bed. Maybe your body becomes so contracted that you can't feel anything anymore. So these layers of protective mechanism over a period of time over our lives need to be looked at, and then carefully and very lovingly and with a lot of connection, compassion, self-compassion, need to find a way to let go. So we have many modalities that you're going to experience in the next couple of days, and Diane already shared a beautiful one with us. So I'm going to go back to the second chakra, second chakra. You know about most likely all of you know about the energy centers, the 7 major chakras in our body. I'm going to start a class in March just on the chakras, on energy traveling. So the second chakra is about boundaries, learning how to say yes, learning how to say no, learning about how to relate in the world, how to speak up, and how to feel valuable to yourself, valuable to yourself. And therefore it's also connected to money, because we place value on money. So if we have money issues, it often can be resolved in the second chakra. Of course, it's not isolated, it's connected to all the other chakras in our body, but it behooves us to spend a bit of time in how can I create my own inner authority again? How can I learn not to listen to these old voices that are redundantly self-criticizing me and playing in my head over and over again? So think about that. Now, when I work as a body psychotherapist, it's important for me for the child to find a way to confront the abuser. But as a child, of course, you can't do that. So you need a go-between, you need an ally. And so people pick interesting allies. Just last week, I worked with somebody and they didn't have an uncle or a loving grandfather or an aunt or a friend who would speak up and confront this abuser. So what this person did, she created somebody out of a composite of people, or sometimes it's movie stars, or sometimes it's a mythological figure. Somebody strong, somebody gentle, somebody able to confront. And then the child, or now the grown-up, in the voice of the child, connects to this second chance dad or second chance mom and says, this is what I want you to say to my abuser. So the ally speaks in the voice of the child, what is still unfinished business, and it's speaking for. You have somebody who's there for you for the first time in this situation. Now, we regress very quickly. If I ask somebody, how old are you right now as you're feeling, there's most of the time immediately comes up a number. 4 is often the number. I'm curious, sometimes I think maybe that's because of the heart chakra. The 4th is the heart chakra. So how do we do this together with somebody? Well, we have to trust this somebody explicitly. And if I'm using touch, my touch has to find a way. I have to get out of the way. My touch has to find a way to be agenda-free. No expectation, not trying to heal, not trying to fix, not trying anything. So this has been my very interesting and involved study. How do I get out of the way? I mean, here's this person coming to me and they're paying me money and they're saying, heal me, fix me. And I say, I'm not a healer and I'm not a fixer, but I'd like to show you how you can help yourself, how you can help to heal yourself. Even if I come with the best of intention, remember, mom could have been very well intended when she said, don't touch this, you'll burn your hands. But in the way she said it, and in the way she interfered with my own process of trying to experience it myself, is an interference. So even if I have the best intention for this person, this client in mind, if I suggest something that is good for them, on some level, they're going to brace against it because they want to figure it out for themselves. They want to go back to this early experience and say, I can do this. I don't need you. That is the stage of the 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4-year-old, if they're left alone. And that's when the capacity of the brain, left and right brain, grows equally together. You can interchange them. They're not separate anyway. But we are saying that, you know, your right side is the side of your masculine self, and it's the doing side and the active side, and the left side is the feminine side, the passive and receiving self. Well, they're all living in one body. And the body and the mind and the emotions always want to find a way to complete and not have some pieces left out, hanging out all over the place. So how do we integrate this? First of all, we have to understand that body, mind, and emotions and spirit are one. And that we, if we go back to my earlier, saying what I said earlier, is if we're coming out of the light, then the light shrinks and denses up. This is the best way I can explain this right now. Sometimes I have better words. It becomes dense and it turns into physical reality through our thought processes, and our belief that we are still this light, that we are still this divinity, that we are still this God being. And with that deeper belief, so this is the good news, that nothing and no one, no matter how abused you've been or how many interferences you've had in your life, nothing and no one can take this away from you. This feeling of, I have a right to live. I have a place here on this planet. I came here with an intention to learn something, to heal myself from the difficult lessons, and to explore through my creative thinking of how I can expand. And each time I have an expansive thought, I become wider and deeper and taller and more complete. So just the smallest expansive thought, the smallest thought that takes the limits that have been imposed on us a notch down, can create something in your brain that helps you to relax and say, I'm home, even for a second. So that feeling of being, it's a big word, being one. We're always talking about it, but who knows how to do it? I'm working on it as fast as I can. What is this oneness? What is this isness that we're all after? What is this home place that we want to feel and sense and experience? Because it was the place, or is the place, from where we've come and where we're going again. And there's no corona or anything else that can help us from that. We're going to die when we are ready, not because some virus is getting hold of us. If that is meant to be, yes, then it's meant to be. But my belief is that we have, on the soul level, a contract with that divine place that says, okay, you've learned your lesson, now you can leave. Whether it's corona or an accident or somebody killing you, it doesn't matter. It all takes us to the light. I know I'm talking big language here. And sometimes I can easily believe it. And other times I think, where the hell am I? What happened? How far away did I get from myself? Doesn't happen too often anymore. I have this sense that my creativity and my exploration, taking a white piece of paper and say, okay, what am I going to put on this that's going to look back at me just like a mirror? And then what did I put on there? What does it mean? This red line, how does it speak to the blob that's blue? And I can create a dialogue between them. And then I start to reveal something about myself that's utterly fascinating. It's kind of looking into the mirror and daring to sit in front of it and looking at yourself and saying, well, that's wrong, and this wrong, and that's wrong, and I'm getting old, and da, 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 da. And then all of a sudden, oh my God, what a creation. Look what I came in here with. Utterly amazing. I think we need to fall in love with our amazingness then again. And the pain body will disappear somehow. It doesn't disappear overnight. I'm not trying to make this light. There's some people I've worked with for 10 years, and other people I work with for 3 months, and other people I work with 1 session. And there's a shift. There's a shift into self-authority, inner authority, self-belief, falling in love just a little deeper with self. I'm teaching a class right now, and we looked at all the many ways of how you can fall in love with yourself and what prevents you from falling in love with yourself, and how much is enough and how much is too little. I mean, these are all things that are finely tuned, but they're really worth looking at, because love is the answer, and that's all we've got. And that's the translation of the divine here on the planet, is love. And thank God, you know, I'm now, 78 years old. And even 20 years ago, no one would talk about these things. We're just starting with the New Age stuff, you know, and everybody all of a sudden wanted to just work in the upper chakras. Forget the root chakra, forget the parents, forget the biological family. Let's just move away. And I've written a book called Stuck is Not a Place. Stuck is not a place.
Uta, would you like me to screen share?
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you. So stuck is not a place, meaning that there's an opportunity here when we feel stuck. Yes, of course we feel stuck, but it's not a place to hang out and say, I can't get any further. It's an opportunity to look deeper of what is it all about that makes me feel stuck? And if I feel stuck, who do I want to say that to? I feel stuck with you. And what does that person say back? Well, I'm not so fond of you either. So what are we going to do about this? I feel da-da-da-da-da, and you explore your feelings with that person. And once you explore the feelings, the next step is vulnerability, and not just accusations, but revealing something about yourself that has been lying in the recesses of your memories, and you've been triggered into an early life experience. Because these blueprints of the early life experiences are carried through a lifetime. And we tend to gravitate, unfortunately, we tend to gravitate to people who will bring us the same bloody lessons again and again. Have you ever noticed? Oh my God, here it is again. I picked the same kind of boyfriend again that reminded me of my dad. Right? So how do we deal with these redundant messages? Learning to love ourselves, learning to say, it's okay. You've come a long way, baby. Appreciation. I don't know how many times I've said to my clients, self-appreciation is a shortcut to healing. Self-appreciation. Do we dare to appreciate ourselves? Well, we better learn if we don't. And abundantly so. I don't know what my timing is. I'm just rattling off. I can rattle off.
You have a few more minutes, Uta.
A few more minutes. Okay. So let's see. I'm very interested in the chakra energies. And the first chakra, of course, connects us to the energy of the parents, the biological parents, but also to the tribe, the ancestors. So here's, yes, she has my chakra map here. So they come in colors. You can see they follow the color wheel. And the first chakra is the biological parents and the ancestors in the tribe. And the second chakra is, as I explained earlier a little bit, about the boundaries and self-assurance. And then that needs to go into the power chakra. You have to empower that before you can go into the heart, the green chakra. And then you want to express it on the level of the throat. You know, what can I say to that person? How can I write about it? How can I sing and dance it? The expression of your creative ways of living in the world. And then the third eye, which is, how do I see over my whole life? What are the areas that are still murky and in a fog? And how can I lovingly bring them into my consciousness? Yes, they may be scary. And yes, I may need some help to help me through this. But I can do this. I don't have to feel that I'm stuck with this. With the headache, with the pain, with the relationship, with whatever. And then the last one is the crown chakra, which is where the lotus blossom sits for the Eastern mystics. And it connects us to all that is, whatever that is. It's all. It's God, it's our God, Godhood, God being, our soul that has created this lifelong journeys. And we come back with it and say, okay, let's turn this prism a little bit and see it from this angle. And maybe next time you're a farmer. Right now I'm in France, living in France, trying to create a little eco village with a few very special people. And we may have to all go and become farmers. I'm looking forward to it. I don't want to work so hard anymore, but I do want to put my thumb in the dirt, because what I haven't mentioned yet, the healing forces of nature were what got me through as a child. And I'm incredibly indebted to the nature spirits, to the trees, to the endless exploration, and they were always lovingly available.